took a photograph this summer as I was out in the morning in Utah. This is a view of Timpanogos in the kind of late morning. Sun's been up for a while, creating a nice silhouette effect here in the background where there's really no detail on the mountain, just a separation between the foothills and the mountain itself. I was really intrigued by these little trees. Maybe they're poplar trees here, but I was also very intrigued when I looked at the photograph at how the sun changed the color of these trees in comparison to these trees. They give them a kind of magenta tint, and we see it even coming down into this post. So I decided to make an etching in response to this photograph as a demonstration for my students on how to do multiple techniques. This will turn out to be a 3-plate etching separated out into 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue. Started with the blue plate and did a line etching and then turned that into an Aquatint. I haven't proofed it in blue, I've only proofed it in graphite ink. And then I transferred the contents of that plate to 2 other plates. The yellow plate will get a line etching. And then the red plate, I'm working on a sugar lift, which will be the content of this video. Anytime you're working from a photograph, it's nice here on Photoshop to help perceive what's going on. Everything's going to be backwards on the plates, so you might as well turn things backwards here. Everything looks funny now. And then we're going to look at the channels. I've already changed this to CMYK. We're just going to look today at the magenta channel, basically red. We're not necessarily going to have a black plate. So we're just going to look at the magenta channel, and you can see the distribution of values here, pretty stark, where there's going to be a lot of magenta in this area, down here a little bit more, some here, a little bit here, just a few spots where there's just a lot of magenta, and the rest is pretty dull, really. Even in the mountains there will be some, and I will have to account for that later. The whole concept of sugar lift is that you can paint in a positive value on a degreased plate, then cover the plate in a hard ground, followed by immersing the plate in warm/hot water, which will dissolve or lift the sugar lift solution, as well as its associated hard ground, thus exposing the sugar lift design on the plate, ready for Aquatint. I've already mixed the solution as follows: 1/4 cup of light corn syrup mixed with a tablespoon of Higgins water-soluble, not waterproof India ink, and a 1/4 teaspoon of iodine soap. You can add more soap to the mix, but it will make it harder to lift later on. I find that the thinner you paint, the easier it will be to lift the hard ground. Conversely, the thicker the application, the longer the lifting process. I'm using Baldwin Intaglio ground, or big, red variety, for my hard ground. You could use thinned liquid asphaltum if you want more toxic solution. Apply the ground with a brayer. The application should be thin, but not so thin that the copper plate shines through. The most difficult issue here is that the sugar lift has some dimension, which makes it difficult to get the ground into tight spots, especially in and around thicker spots. After baking the hard ground onto the plate at 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 or 7 minutes, remove it from the hot plate and let it cool before checking the surface of the ground. Always remember to turn off the hot plate when you're not using it and dial the heat to 0. Make sure that the ground is not tacky. This plate looks ready to go. Place the plate in a tray of hot water and agitate the surface of the plate with a cotton ball. This sugar lift is being a little stubborn, so I'm going to increase the heat, exchange the water out, and continue to be tenacious. It's coming along, just be patient. Once all of the sugar lift has done its job and lifted the hard ground off the plate, dry the plate in preparation for an application of rosin Aquatint. Check out this video for more detail on the Aquatint process. Set a timer for 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds and counting.
The Aquatint will provide a fine organic dot pattern acid resist, which will give a bite that will create a visual value structure on the plate. Set a timer for 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes and counting.
Set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
I'm going to check this at 7 minutes and see where we are. Actually, that looks pretty good, so I'll take this one off and we don't need to overbake it at all. So I'm going to go to Image and Adjustments. We're going to invert or Command I. Since I'm working with a litho crayon, this will give me the appropriate values. The litho crayon will be drawing black, but will actually act as a stop out. So now anywhere that I see anything that's particularly dark, and in fact, since a lot of it's stopped out anyway by the hard ground that's already on the plate, I'm going to just put very light value in something like this to set it apart from something like this, or light value in these trees to set them apart from what's really bright over here, and we'll get a lot of bite and turn out to be dark in the final analysis. This will all be a lot of red ink through here and less through here. And I will take care of the mountains later. There does need to be some value there to contribute to what is otherwise quite blue in the master, but we do have some magenta coming through over here. So we have to put that in just to kind of give that some value. But I'll take care of that later, like I said, on another Aquatint. The addition of litho crayon to the sugar lift Aquatint is totally optional. It's simply a way to subtly modulate the value of the Aquatint without having to repeatedly etch, rinse, dry, and stop out on the plate. I have two types of litho crayons, corns and stones. The first, corns, resembles a China marker, which, by the way, won't work. I'm not a big fan of the corns crayons and have long ago made the shift to stones crayons, which are much easier to sharpen. Both brands are graded with a numerical system to designate how fatty or waxy they are. This is a number 3 corns litho crayon, which is a medium wax crayon. I'm going to switch over to the Stones litho crayon. This is a number 5 crayon, which is on the lean or hard side of fat, but should provide some good bulk to the rosin particles, further stopping out the acid. Found this sharpener on technique.com. Does a pretty good job. I should be able to etch for 20 to 25 minutes without losing crayon particles or rosin particles. Set a timer for 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes and counting.
After 20 minutes, the ground seems to be holding up, so I'm going to etch for 5 more minutes. After the additional 5 minutes of etch time, I can tell the rosin is starting to fail in some isolated areas, so I'll rinse and clean off the ground, starting first with alcohol, which removes the aquatint, followed by Goo-Gone, which removes the crayon, and then citrus strip gel, which removes the hard ground. Finish with a spritz of alcohol as a final degrease before proofing the plate. I'm mixing red ink with a little miracle gel reducer to make the ink easier to wipe off the surface of the plate. Card the ink on from the center out. Card the ink off. Use a tarlatan wiper to gently remove more ink from the surface. Use a chalkboard eraser wrapped in newsprint to assertively wipe the rest of the ink off from the surface of the plate. As this is a proof, I'm not too worried about cleaning the bevel edges, and I'm also not too concerned about registration. Okay, you should be able to see the modulated values with the darker red on the left and the paler red on the right with the trees. Let's see what the blue and red plates will look like proofed together. I already suspect each plate will need some reworking, but this will give me a good idea where to start. I'm guessing this plate has too much value. I'll likely need to reduce the depth of the bite by scraping and burnishing. Also, this blue ink is a bit too dark. I'll have to lighten it with some white ink and maybe some transparent base. I'm going to use a longer sheet of scrap paper here so that I have a tail to trap underneath the drum while I switch the plates out, blue for red. The paper will stay registered. Yep, there's some work to do for sure. Not seeing a whole lot of the red shining through on the trees. I'll definitely need to rework that. Plus, we need the yellow plate.